Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to JT's Mixtape. This is episode number 78. And if you guys are enjoying these podcasts, please give me a 5-star review on either Apple or Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you.
Come closer, my child.
What's going on, y'all? This podcast is brought to you by Modern Roots Life. Modern Roots Life is a Christian-owned and operated company, and it's bringing real health back to its roots. They offer powerful, all-natural health supplements such as beef liver, cod liver oil, beef tallow, magnesium, and mineral-rich salts, all sourced the way God intended. Clean, simple, and from the earth. So whether you're looking to boost your energy, restore mineral balance, or just fuel your family with real nourishment, Modern Roots Life has got you covered. Guys, in this community, we're trying to get healthy in our mind, in our body, and our spirit. So don't neglect your health. If you want more information, check out modernrootslife.com and check the link in my description. You know, people often ask me how they can support me. Well, I think it's pretty cool if you can support me by supporting the people who support me, and you get something in return. And being healthy is a pretty good return. Well, family, we're all back. Once again, I'm your host, JT. I've got Brian, my friend, Demon Racers. What's going on, Brian?
Nothing much. Nothing too crazy.
Not yet.
It's a normal day when the president's being attacked. It's normal, but
no, we're gonna get to that. And we also have AA Ron Tunai Hart. What's going on, Aaron?
What's up, y'all? Happy to be here.
As always. So it's really exciting every time we get together because as we start this podcast off, we're like, what are we going to talk about first? There's a lot to talk about, and obviously we have the supposed third assassination attempt on our dear leader, and now we've got the SPLC stuff, basically funding all the psyops. So we're going to get to that. But before we do, I want to obviously the people on Patreon are going to see this first, and maybe they'll be in time to like potentially maybe meet up with us because the three of us are going to Sedona, Arizona for the Quest for the Ancients conference. And it's got an interesting cast of speakers there, particularly from my perspective. We got Derek Olson, who goes by Megalithic Marvels on a lot of his socials, and Luke Caverns. So these are two of my friends, and so I reached out to Derek to see if he's got any hookups to go out there, and he did. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. Sedona, talking about ancient civilizations that were lost by massive cataclysms and being in Sedona. I'm really excited about that. But basically, I want to say the headline speaker is this gentleman here, Randall Carlson. Check this out.
How many of you ever heard an artist who visited 120 tribes during the 19th century, painting and writing about them, George Catlin? And at the conclusion of these many, many years, he says, of 120 different tribes which I have visited in North and South and Central America, every tribe has related to me more or less distinctly their traditions of the deluge. I have found distinct traditions of 3 successive cataclysms, 2 by water and 1 by fire. And in the rocks and mountains, both in the West India Islands and on the Mexican coast, as well as in the Yucatan and its ruins, I have found, from chemical and geological tests, undeniable evidences of the same catastrophes.
How about that? So obviously, it's no secret, and I don't think this is a great revelation that there is a mythology pretty much everywhere about the deluge. So you have, we often talk about this, where you have mythologies of giants, gods from the heavens, and you have a great flood. And that is consistent around the whole world.
But he also said fire.
That's right. Well, he said 3. Of course, we're thinking, and biblically, we're thinking 2. I want to say that there was even a story. I remember when I read Gary Wayne's book, the Genesis 6 conspiracy. Supposedly, there was this tradition where even the men in the line of Seth had these kind of two sacred pillars, and they were basically prophecies. One of them had talked about a destruction by water, and the other one was a destruction by fire. Of course, they have three, but still, Randall Carlson's saying that they had a tradition of destruction by water and fire, and he's saying that there's evidence of both of those.
Well, you think about it like there's obviously the Great Deluge, which is Noah's flood, but then Revelation talks about a third of the world will be flooded and a third of it will be burned. That's, you know what I mean? Like that could be both right there. You know what I'm saying?
There's also a situation where we're talking about a worldwide catastrophe. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if they had a tradition with an extra one, it doesn't rule out the fact that there was a regional catastrophe, because we know that there's regional catastrophes. Go back to the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, that was absolutely a catastrophe. So if anybody made it out of there, like, Lot and his family, well, then they're telling of this other time that fire fell from heaven and melted a whole city.
Well, and he said all of those tribes concurred on all of that. So you have to figure most of those tribes have never had anything to do with each other. Like not all of those tribes know each other. So yeah, that's, and a third of the earth, as we talked on the last podcast, a third of the earth, it's not just sections in America, but a third of the earth is desert. And there's signs of scorching in every single one of those places. So there's a lot there.
That's right, because it's funny. So I've been continuing to read through the American Antiquities and Discoveries in the West, and it is interesting to how the view of the 19th century, what he's basically talking about, that he's, Randall Carlson was talking about this account of these people who are like painters and researchers, and they're talking to 120 different tribes. So this book is written in 1833 or released in 1833. And the way that they were viewing the different tribes, and they were connecting them with different peoples and where they likely came from, it's the opinion of Josiah Priest in this book that no, these people were not here as long as some people speculate that they were, and they were connecting a lot of them with the Tartars. So that story where even we were told in school about the Bering Strait and people coming over from Asia through Alaska and Canada and settling in North and South America, that's basically what it's saying. And I think that the truth of the matter is that book also gives speculation that there was more land masses. Maybe people took a boat, but maybe people didn't have to take a boat. I mean, could they have taken this narrow strait that was land at one point? Or could there just have been more land? But anyways, the whole point is that they're connecting some of these tribes of Indians with people from Hindustan and Grand Tartary and all kinds of people in Asia. And then you have some different accounts of these tribes. Did you hear, Brian, have you read into the part where they're talking about white Indian tribes?
Where he did, yeah, I did. I read that part where he's talking about the different colors of them. And so he did mention that. Yeah.
So there was so everybody
he said there was all the different colors.
Well, yeah. So I read in the account of that is that it did say that when settlers got here, every complexion that was in Asia and Africa was found in America.
Yep.
So
white, tawny, brown.
Yeah, right. But there was
all of them.
But I guess
we said black, and it said black as in Africa.
Yeah.
And the funny part is because the reason why it says black as in Africa is because black people back in the day were not people that were dark colored skin. They were black. You were considered a black person if you were marked, because and those that were marked were the ones that were marked for slavery. So that's why it has to specify in that text when it says black as in Africa versus a black person, because a black person was a slave, which were also a lot of slaves were from the Slavic region, which were white. That's why they're called Slavs, slaves.
No, but I mean, it's interesting. So the point is that you have a picture in your head when you hear about a Native American person, like what they look like. And this is saying that there was tribal people who were the same complexion as the Europeans when they encountered them. And this is not just a guy in the 18th century or 19th century saying this. They were getting stories from the other tribes about white natives that were there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were more like
the white natives were also violent.
they were more tribalistic, like
Yeah, they were violent.
yeah, they were. Yeah, they weren't like the Europeans that. So I guess if people are probably maybe in this community, they might be speculating, are these the people who created all the buildings? But I don't think those are the people either.
No. The white people were not. They were like they were like violent, aggressive white Indians that they were talking about, and so they were not. They were not the friendly natives that they came across. They actually. I think they gave them weapons to go kill off the other white Indians that were also the white Indians were tethered to the giants as well, like the giant natives, I think. And there was a text that I read that Christopher Columbus wrote where he mentioned the giant ones being tethered to the white Indians.
Interesting. Well, I mean, yeah, and that's what it's also said in the book, that there were dwarves and giants.
Yeah, dwarves and giants.
And they had all the different facial features that you might expect all around the world too. So it wasn't just the complexion of the skin. There was a variation of lots of different types of people, including like humanoids that even like we showed last week about Brian showed that weird gigantic African man who did not look like just a big person. He looked like a giant. He looked like what you might imagine a giant would look like.
He was a little bit deformed slightly too, which is the common thread that you read about the stories of the giants, is that they are disfigured or deformed, and it's like that like he had that weird protruding forehead kind of thing.
His head almost was shaped like a gourd or something like that, you know, because it was kind of
unusual,
like rigid, and it went up and like a point at one point.
He
it's
reminded
just unusual.
me so much of Andre the Giant. Like even with his voice, he had that just like that deep.
There's a name for that voice. What is it called, Aaron? Do you know what it is? It's like when your voice
like an alto or
it's
baritone.
Baritone.
No. There's a term for the voice when your voice goes into that sort of space. It's like megalo something. It's like who's that other that inspirational dude that always talks?
Tony Robbins.
He's got it too. He's got what's the voice condition Tony Robbins has?
Yeah, I don't really know what it's called because I've never really had that problem. I've kind of got a higher voice.
Well, you think about like a what's his name, James Earl Jones, who was the voice of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It's a pretty awesome voice, honestly.
Well, dude, it's amazing. Yeah. No, it's funny. People they've often been kind of surprised that I don't have like a deeper voice when they meet me, especially like when they see how broad-shouldered and tall and stuff I am. But I don't know. It is what it is.
Isn't that a situation though that obviously you being a singer, you know that a lot of people don't talk from like the diaphragm, or they're talking like, you know, it's like they got like a shallow voice because they're actually not projecting all the stuff in there. And I saw a video about that, about how somebody could speak in a different way when they actually just use more of, I guess, their lungs and their diaphragm, and they sounded almost totally different.
Yeah, there's your like your throat voice, and then there's your chest voice, and it makes a difference when you're singing too. Like when I'm just singing from the throat, I can hit like some of those falsetto notes and some of the higher notes, but when I'm singing from the chest, like my range completely changes.
Get us the falsetto right now. We want to hear it, bro.
What's the I mean, I imagine that has a lot to do too, that when people lose their voices early, right? Because they're trying to sing out of their throat too much.
Yeah.
Guys, look, this is it. It's acromegaly or acromegaly. And so like this is the difference. It's like the chin is protruded much bigger. The lips are a bit different. It's like basically here's a hobbit and here's a giant. Like, you know,
or that's just a regular person. But you know what? That makes me think of, who was that one wrestler? Remember, I think we did a podcast and we talked about him a little bit, but he looks just like Shrek.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He was like...
He looks kind of like this guy.
His head was massive, but his jaw... Oh, man, that guy was crazy looking.
This is
Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant and the Undertaker. So acromegaly...
No, that's not the Undertaker.
Oh, who's that? I forget.
I don't know.
If that's the Undertaker, someone photoshopped his face all up.
I forget, but
click on that picture of Andre the Giant right there. The standing next. The other one. That one, yeah.
Dude. Bro,
that's insane.
These are like normal people, and he's just like chilling.
And it's not just part of him; it's all of him. He's just massive.
It's wild, dude. It's wild. Yeah, but it's acromegaly is what it is. And the girls can get it too. Look, it does this to their face. To a woman's face has a difference. Isn't that crazy? Anyways.
It's wild.
But yeah, I found the guy just so people that know what we're talking about. This guy was known as, his wrestling name was called the French Angel. I want to say that Andre the Giant came from France too, right, Brian?
Yeah, he did.
Yes. Yep.
Which is interesting because
that's
Brian's talked about this a million times about how this one region that is partially in Spain and partially in France, they call it the Basque region. And that place was known for the Gentiles, and it's got all these very mysterious dolmens and like Stonehenge-like monuments in that area.
Oh, and bro, JT, do you know why they call them the Basque people? Did I tell you this one?
No, because they have bass when they speak.
No,
Basque
basilisk.
bass.
Basilisk is a name for the dragon. That's why they get the name Basque. It's
Basque is the name of a dragon.
The basilisk. You don't know what a basilisk is?
Oh yeah. Is that the one that doesn't have arms? It just has wings.
Yes, it's like a giant snake. It's like a giant snake dragon.
Okay, check this out.
A basilisk is it's a basilisk. I'm saying it wrong. Basilisk is what became Basque, and so they were like the dragon people. They were the basilisk people.
Well, right. But you think about it, if they're related to angels, you think the idea of the seraphim angels, these are the children of these dragon-like divine beings. But here's this guy. His name is Maurice Tillet.
Yeah, it's totally Shrek.
Tell me that's not exactly who they made Shrek after.
Dude, that's insane. I don't think I've ever seen that guy before. That's crazy.
Right? I told you,
100% that is Shrek.
There's just no doubt that he was modeled after this guy right here.
Like dude, that right there. Look at his ears. It's funny. That's totally Shrek.
Yeah. Now again, I guess that's the thing. It's like, is that Nephilim remnants, or is that just
so you guys
somebody
know,
who's got some severe genetic? His gene pool was shallow, and he ended up like that.
Who can know, right? It could be inbreeding. It could be like, it could be so many different things.
Just so you guys know, his nickname is the French Angel.
Yeah, that's what I said, the French Angel. That's what I was saying. So Andre the Giant being from France, you have the Basque region in France and Spain.
But he's called an angel because he's a fallen angel.
This connection with the last thing you do is look at that guy and say, "Oh, he looks like an angel."
Yeah, I think I don't know. I really don't know how it all works. It would make sense to me. Like, deformities are one thing, but I think like when you reach like the bone density of someone like Andre the Giant, or you reach like the 7-foot zone, you got like, I don't know how it's not like Nephilim related, because that's just not common, man. 7 foot plus, like femurs that are freaking.
Well, again, it's not like
diameter.
I think the thing is, like, when people talk about like Goliath, and they think about him being a certain height, and it's funny, in the Septuagint he's actually slightly shorter. Based on, I want to say that I kind of did some calculations based on the idea of a 21-inch cubit, because I think they say he's only like 6 cubits in the Septuagint or something like that. And so, like, the Masoretic text says Goliath was like 9 foot, but I want to say that he was basically almost 8 foot in the Septuagint. Either way, the main point of it is when they talk about how big his armor was and how much it weighed and how his spear was massive, and they said it was like a weaver's beam. It's like, we're not just talking about somebody who's tall, because Andre the Giant is tall, and there's a lot of NBA players that were tall, or as tall as him or taller, but they still resemble more like a regular man. Now, these giants, because they talked about them also being wide, like they're almost as wide as they were tall. And that's what makes you think of, like, these people don't look like regular people. They're not just big, like that guy, the French Angel. He wasn't just tall. He looked different. And that's kind of when you get into, like, they did that movie, was it Jack the Giant Slayer, or something like that years ago. And it's a play off the idea of, Jack and the Beanstalk story. And then you think about in the Greek mythology, they very often show that the giants are deformed looking. They
Yeah.
they look like, I mean, of course, it's like that guy Maurice Tillet, except for they're 15 to 20 feet tall. They're not like 7 feet tall.
Well, the dudes, by the way, Maurice's other nickname is called the Ogre of the Ring. You think
Right,
that they
he's
didn't
an
just
ogre.
Google search
I am
ogre?
an ogre.
Yeah, they literally. You don't think they just did like a Google search for like real life ogre or old image of ogre or old or ogre wrestler, and his images would have popped up.
Well, you know how I found him? I typed into the search bar the wrestler that looks like Shrek,
Yeah, yeah,
and that was the only result.
yeah. Well, if you just typed in ogre wrestler, he'll still come up. And the
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't help but picture him
Mm-mm.
talking like Mike Myers, though.
It's the same with Attack on Titan. Only they're not just giants; they're titans. But like they all look a little bit deformed. Then their faces are
Yeah.
crazy. They're so creepy. Like they're more like clown
They
like.
do kind of look clownish.
They've got like extreme features.
They also have
they're
a big hairy
insane
one
looking.
too. They have one of the Titans in Attack on Titans is a big hairy guy.
Yeah, but they're
And wait, isn't he called the Beast Titan too? I think he's called the Beast Titan.
I don't know, man. I didn't get that. I didn't get deep enough into it. I know that there was, because there's the movies that they made, which are like live action, and
Yeah.
then there's like the animated series, which had so many episodes.
How does it feel,
And,
JT? How does it
what?
feel to not know something about pop culture that I know?
That's a show that I have not watched. Believe it or not, yeah, Brian has actually seen something I have not watched. It's fine. Actually, I said I love it. I mean, give me
Yeah.
more. Give me more. Yeah,
If
because I'll
you
be
want-
able to have a movie
I've not
reference
watched
that's
it,
off the
but-
one reference that you had.
I've
Yeah,
not watched it. I've just seen clips, and I know enough of it.
if you want to just get the gist of it, the live action, at least the first one, the live action one, I mean, it's violent for sure, but it will give you the gist of the whole storyline. You don't have to watch the whole series.
Guys, let me read you this. Josephus, Flavius Josephus. All right, guys, everybody. This is the book that everyone should read because this book is.
This is the Antiquity of the Jews. This is not the Jewish-Roman War, right?
No, this is full of nuggets. This is Jewish Antiquity, Chapter 2. This is just full of nuggets of truth and interesting things. Okay, ready? Book 5, Chapter 2. There were until then left a race of giants who had bodies so large and countenance so entirely different from other men that they were surprising to the sight and terrible to the hearing, which means they were alive, because how can you hear them? You're not
Right,
gonna hear
exactly.
bones. Okay.
And massive and loud, obviously.
Yeah.
The
So they're like,
decibel.
okay, this is like crazy sounding. I don't know, with some weird deep
Well, remember
voice
the very
that's-
first scene in the Shrek movie? Well,
Mhm.
maybe not the first scene. Remember, there's all those villagers that are coming to kick him out of there. They got the
Yeah.
pitchforks and the torches, and he screams right in their faces, and they run away.
Yeah, it's the sound. It's the sound is terrifying. It's like the growl. I'm not gonna do
I always
it,
bring up
but I
too
wanna
that
do
there
it.
was that movie, terrible movie. I mean, the quality was okay. It was called Bone Tomahawk, and it had Kurt Russell in it. And there was these giants that were stealing people, and they were cannibalistic, and they had some kind of weird thing in their throat, and they let out like the most guttural, just scary sound. And so as soon as you heard that, it was like, because the movie was like a horror movie.
Mm.
But I mean, I think that that's based on the idea, was it Chaco Canyon and the mythology from the Native Americans, that they trapped these giants, these cannibalistic giants, red-haired, I think, in this cave, and they burned them alive in there. And like there's
Yeah.
still like remnants of stuff in there. Like that's what was in that like northwest Nevada.
I've never heard of that movie.
You never? Well, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
saying like the real story about
It was
Chaco
Lovelock
Canyon.
Cave. Lovelock
I don't
Cave.
think I've even
Oh, is
heard
it
that
Lovelock
either.
Canyon?
I think it was Lovelock.
Maybe that has something to do with Chaco Canyon, though, right? Maybe it's in the same area.
Yeah, it might be.
I could be wrong.
similar.
Yeah, Lovelock
I think
Cave.
it was.
Yeah, these Native Americans or Indians trapped these giants in there, and they killed them. But I think that makes sense too. That we're not talking about like the Nephilim described in Genesis 6, where it's these are the heroes of old, the men of renown. You're talking about like a very
Like generations down.
a very corrupt genetic line, because you're not talking about the ones that would have been kings over men. You're talking about like just hideous monster things, and not only did they look ugly, but their character was even worse. And that's probably why some of the worst demons are like, that's where they came from. Like those kind
Well, they
of
had so much hatred in them by then. Think about that, right?
Yeah.
Because like they obviously knew what happened to their predecessors.
Well,
But if
maybe
you
they were
think about,
just. Oh no, keep going.
no, I was gonna say, but if you think about like the size, like the noises that they would make, right? So because some of these giants were, I would imagine, still closer to Titan size. And dude, like depending on how big they were, dude, they might have been, some of them might have been so big that like one of their lungs was bigger than our whole body. So imagine like the depth and the decibel range that would be coming out of the throat of something that big, that had lungs bigger than our entire existence. Dude, it would
Well,
be
just imagine a
so
loud sound
ferocious
would
sounding.
hurt. A loud sound can hurt your ears, you know. So
It would, yeah, dude, it would be terrifying.
imagine a
and
speaker, a megaphone, like.
it's also
you know.
interesting to just think about just the Greek mythology in general, is that they had stories with the Titans were before the Olympians, and the Titans were bigger than the Olympians were. So isn't that kind of just telling you something right there? Isn't that hidden in plain sight? Is the story of Greek mythology that you would have had a Titan like Saturn or Kronos. Kronos was a Titan, and he was way bigger than Zeus was. So the first generation of these beings grew to immense sizes. And then, but you
Well,
still
the
see in
size
that show, like
halved every
like in
time.
that show, I want to say it's the Blood of Zeus. They show Zeus walking around people, and obviously he's way bigger than normal people. But Saturn and some of the other Titans, like the primordial Titans, they were gigantic, absolutely like massive giants. So that does seem to fit just what they're saying in Enoch, and then so any giants after the flood were very big, and they were monstrous compared to normal people, but they were not like the stuff before the deluge.
Well, they halved. So it was like when they were half angel, half human, they were giant, right? And then when they were quarter angel, third human, they were again halved again. And then they were halved again. So every generation subsequently was half the size, essentially, than the other half. Does that make sense? So like,
and they probably realized that, and
yeah,
that's
which is
when
why they started inbreeding.
They started to
Yeah.
have this incestuous, like again,
Yep.
shallow gene pool, and then so they
to keep
remained
their lineages
big,
alive.
but then they were deformed creatures. All right, let's
But yeah,
let's
from
switch
inbreeding.
gears
Oh wait,
here.
wait. Let me list the last part. It says, the bones of these men were still shown to this very day, and they are unlike those of other men. So even their bones looked subtly different, and that was also recorded.
Well, like right when they say they found dinosaur bones, what if it was just a situation where you find this giant femur and everyone's like, "Oh, that must have been some big dumb lizard,"
Totally.
but it was actually a giant's femur bone. I
know,
want to say that that's the very first story. I think the man was named Robert Plott, I believe, that he supposedly found the first dinosaur bone, except for he didn't say it was a dinosaur bone. His first conclusion that it might have been a elephant that the Romans had, but then later he concluded, no, it was actually the femur of a giant humanoid. And that goes back to, I want to say like the 16th century, maybe something like that, 15th century. That's what they thought back then. I think he was probably right. But let's go back. I want to stick on that subject real quick, and then we'll maybe talk about some of the ballroom stuff or whatever, the Baal, the Baal room. But let's talk about this reset again. To go back to that, these Native American tribes talked about multiple resets, and then we often love to talk about the orphan trains and all the stuff that happened afterwards, maybe to repopulate cities. But one of the friends of the show, our friend Luke, he did a very interesting video about this, because what we don't often talk about this subject, we don't talk about Canada. But Luke happened to be a Canuck. He had an interesting video about this.
Between 1869 and the 1930s, over 100,000 children were shipped from Britain to Canada. They're known as the British Home Children. The children in the British Home Children program mostly came from poor working class families, single mothers, and of course, some were orphans. Parents were told their child would have a better life overseas, but in some cases, Communication was cut off, siblings were often separated, and children were told their parents were dead. We're told they were rescued from poverty, given a better life. Now rewind just a few decades earlier. In Victorian Britain, there was something called baby farming, a system where infants were handed over for money, often by desperate mothers. Sometimes cared for, sometimes neglected, and sometimes worse. In 1872, the government introduced the Infant Life Protection Act, the first attempt to regulate paid infant care, but it was weak. Many baby farmers kept operating. Then in 1897, the law was strengthened, mandatory registration and inspections, a direct response to cases like Amelia Dyer, the details of which I don't want to get into. Now here's where it gets interesting. Many of those unwanted or unsupported children didn't disappear. Many children from institutions, charities, and baby farms were eventually moved onto ships and sent to Canada. Children as young as 3 all the way up to 17. And once in Canada, they were placed as farm laborers or domestic servants. Now this is just speculation, but if a government or elite group needed to shape a narrative before moving people into new lands, systems like baby farming, orphanages, ragged schools, which were free education for the poorest, and later the British Home Children Program could have played a role in that process. So was this purely a humanitarian effort, or was there another agenda at play?
Okay, we're going to brag on Luke for a second and maybe a shameless plug for the coaching program. Luke is in the coaching program, and tell me that wasn't a phenomenal video.
That was great.
Yeah, he does a great job. He came out swinging.
But so, anyways, everybody knows about the orphan trains, but I don't think that a lot of people know about the orphan boats. Again, this makes no sense whatsoever, is to ship 3-year-olds over to this undeveloped wild territory. For what reason other than, yeah, possibly that there was nobody else? I mean, because again, this seems like such a massive undertaking to care for that many, 100,000 children, shipping them over there. And it is interesting to just consider that, as Brian was brought up slavery before, about how that we're often told about one type of slave that came to the Americas. But you're putting children to work at an early age. Are these people, are they not slaves? I mean, like, that seems really, it seems inhumane. And that's obviously why we have child labor laws today. Also, it doesn't make a lot of sense, again, to use children if there is able-bodied men and women to do those jobs. Because, like, you've ever tried to take care of a bunch of kids at one time? It's like herding cats. It's like try to get them to stay on focus to work. So it's like it would take almost as much managerial role for the adults to get the kids to do it versus if you just had able-bodied men and women to do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's obviously some kind of lying narrative, in my opinion. I don't think that they need I don't think the children are I don't think that any of that is valid. I think it's completely nonsensical. People giving up their children, I think, is nonsensical, especially back then when you needed a child that helped you survive. Like, it was obviously some kind of manipulation tactic, or they were taking the children, or the children were popping up out of nowhere and they didn't know what to do with them. But the narrative that they're selling us, that people are just, oh, I just can't survive. Let me give up my child. I mean, selling your child, maybe, but I don't know if people were morally that corrupt and at that time. I don't know, but
I think they always have been. But one thing's for sure, I think, to your point, JT, I don't think they discriminated when it came to slave labor. I don't think they cared about
No,
color.
I don't think so either. I don't think it was just a race-based thing. I think that,
no.
well, I mean, they often talk about is the Irish
slaves and slaves.
the Irish slaves that were working inside. Again, it's just not. Hopefully, this doesn't come off as racist. It's like that you wouldn't put fair-skinned redheads in the fields. You'd put them in the factories, and so that's what lots of them. Those are the duties they put for them. So we're often shown about what happened in like chattel slavery for the African races, and they would come over here and work in fields because they could handle it. Versus, yeah, fair-complected people from Northern Europe, they're not going to handle it. They're going to die out. And a lot of these people were what were called as like indentured servants. It's a nice way to say that they're slaves. I guess that at some point they might have been able to buy back their freedom, but that's probably a situation where it's a hope and a prayer, but these people typically died in servitude. They never gained freedom. So at that point, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it was the haves
Everybody's
and have-nots, and it was about power. It was about nothing else. They exerted their power over everyone that was powerless, regardless of color. But no, to your point though, like that's a really good point. Like the shelf life, so to speak, of a fair-skinned redhead obviously is limited if you put them outside working. I'm sure they found that out really quick, right?
I'm sure
So
they
like
tried it. I'm sure they
I'm
tried it.
sure they did too. I'm sure they did, and I'm sure in some cases they didn't care. But man, it's also horrible to have to think about.
Bro, have you seen that video where they talk about the value of $1 and how much people are being paid and like compare it to today? Like today we are actually
You're gonna get me depressed.
bro,
Yeah,
we're
because the buying power
yeah,
from like the
we're
70s. If you go,
technically less than
I want to
slaves
say if
at
you
this
go like
point.
based on the value of gold, based on what the value of gold was like in the 70s, and based on what like minimum wage was, it was like a teenager working minimum wage job had so much more buying power than like people making
Yeah.
$50,000 a year now.
Yeah. Like it's insane. Like, yeah, sure, the teenager was paid, or whatever. Like you can be paid $0.25 an hour, but that quarter was worth like so much stuff. Like it was like so exponentially more valuable to the point where they compared it, and everyone today is actually in a more disenfranchised state than people were during the Great Depression. Like they actually,
Totally.
like we're actually more poor. The only difference is we get to decorate our cages. That's about the difference. And
Well,
we're
I think
delusional about it.
the big difference, yeah, again, that I do believe that idea of like we're like more like free range slaves.
Yeah.
Our cage is a little bigger, but we still are limited based on the buying power that we have. And what was the oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
Everything of real value is like not attainable for the average personnel. It's just all you get is goy slop. You get to goy slop.
Well, no, what I
and
was going to say is that what the big difference is they give us more usury, so we have more credit, but what we really have is more debt.
Yeah.
And
More
so then you're
slavery.
even on a tighter leash the more you extend that that interest out. That's where they really got you. And we're not even going to get into exactly who established that system, but I got a funny video because we don't want to
Wait.
dwell on the dark parts of this horrific economy.
No,
But I
wait, I
found it
got
very
one. I
funny.
got one more comment.
Okay, you got more comment?
This is interesting, okay? Because
Okay.
I saw this video. I'm not going to play the video because I don't have it, but I saw this video of this girl, and she was commenting on like why we don't think that porn is like equivalent to slavery. And she was like, how do you not see that it's the same thing? And she made this statement, and she goes like, if you were in an environment where the people on the island needed resources and they were being exploited to do terrible things to gather their resources, you would say that man or that industry is evil. She's like, why don't you say that about the same industry of corn? She's like, you would say that because these women don't want to exploit themselves, but they're being forced to because there's no other system that pays them more money. So it's almost like an incentive to be exploited to get, and like these people that make $1 million doing that stupid, what's that thing, that website or whatever,
OnlyFans?
fans yeah, that one, the and so like that, like to an extent, like when they do OnlyFans, like what they're doing is like they're essentially being exploited to take themselves out of slavery that they're already in. And it's almost like you don't have, you know what I mean? Like you should be being paid a working wage to survive, to buy a house. It's like to them, it's like, how could they not resist the idea of, wow, I can make $1 million and be a normal,
Right. It's almost
viable member
it is
of
almost
society?
like indentured servitude at the least.
It's like a doorway out
Yeah,
of
like
indentured
you
servitude.
can work your
So,
way out of it. This is like
yeah.
sharecropping. Like eventually you'll be able
Yep.
to get out of it. But it reminds me of course, that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, is that, Jimmy Stewart's character is is loaning money to people, but he's doing his best because I think he was in some kind of a loan business to get people to live in and housing. And then Mr. Potter was the evil banker. And, the angel Clarence shows Jimmy Stewart what would happen if he was never born. And then the town they lived in was called Potterville. And it was just full of just places to gamble, drugs, bars everywhere. It was Sin City, and it was all run down and slummy. That's what's happening right now. This is Potterville right now. It's not quite as bad as that, but like in general, it definitely is. Okay, check this out. I want to go to a lighter subject because I thought this video was really funny.
I have items to pawn.
All right, let's see what you got. Okay, so these are lightsabers.
Correct.
So, where'd you get them?
Estate sale.
Estate sale.
The previous owners no longer needed them. I have been a collector for many years. It is a great passion of mine. Each lightsaber has a story, a history. There is a certain thrill to the acquisition. It is rewarding.
Right, so this is a pretty big collection. What has you looking to sell them?
I have a lung condition. The Separatist health plan does not cover it.
Oh,
So I must sell my collection.
that's rough, man. How much are you looking to get for them?
100,000 credits.
Look, I'll give you $50 for them.
You fool!
Dude, they actually did a phenomenal job with that.
Yeah.
It totally looked legit, didn't it?
It absolutely did. Yeah.
Somebody commented like, "This is what AI was made for," or something.
Dude, for real. Yeah. Like, we didn't get enough General Grievous in the movie, so that was kind of cool to see.
Where did you get him? It's just like, estate sale.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's when the internet really shines. I can appreciate that. That's when we talk about all the evils of AI, but I mean, you got to admit that was pretty funny. All right, do you have a video to share, Aaron, before I move on to the again, our dear leader nearly escaping the jaws of death again?
Oh my gosh, it's so
No,
amazing.
I don't
The
really
Lord's
have
hand
one
is on
that's-
him, JT.
Okay,
That
let's
fits.
yeah,
Paul's hand.
let's just go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off. So if people are not aware, I'm sure by the time everybody sees this, they'll know about the correspondence dinner and the fact that there was some kind of active shooter there. Now we're gonna let one of our favorite reporters, James Lee, take it away and tell us all about it.
I'm sorry, but none of this seems real. Like, at all. You've probably heard by now, a suspect armed with knives and guns tried to storm the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight. The guy's name was Cole Allen, and he was very quickly neutralized by security. But then people online started to do a little bit of noticing. Pause to read. Yeah, I don't know about you, but it's starting to look like one big show, beginning with what Caroline Levitt said right before the start of the event.
It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room.
This, by the way, is Trump's first time attending the White House Correspondents' Dinner as president, and CNN ran this article a few hours before saying to expect the unexpected. Within an hour of the incident, Trump tweets out a video of the shooter running through the event, even though still, for some reason, we can't get any moving pictures of Tyler Robinson. Then it turns out the shooter, Cole Allen, worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Very interesting timing given all the UFO stories, so cue the conspiracy theorists on this one. And then there were the reactions, starting with Erica Kirk being Erica Kirk. I have to say, she looks very upset here, like way more upset than when her husband. Then we got Dana White just loving this whole thing.
It started getting noisy. Tables getting flipped over, guys running in with guns, and they were screaming, "Get down!" I didn't get down. It was awesome. I literally took every minute of it in, and it was a pretty pretty crazy, unique experience.
Totally normal reaction to what is supposedly a presidential assassination attempt. But the most ridiculous thing has to be maybe this coordinated influencer campaign saying this is why Trump needs a new ballroom.
I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it.
We officially live in the dumbest timeline ever.
How's a ballroom with the outside with bulletproof glass going to stop a guy coming into the building? Like, what is the logic there, bro? It's so retarded.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that the thing is, this was held at the Washington Hilton. So there was regular guests staying there. You know, I guess they chose to hold it there, but I mean, you really think about it. Not only was Trump there, but you had the vice president there. You had almost all his staff there. I want to say that the Speaker of the House was there. It's like a situation that if somebody did actually get in there and started killing people, I think somebody said it would have been like Chuck Grassley would be president right now. Chuck Grassley's like 90-something years old. So the idea that this guy could get outside this room with a shotgun and guns and knives and him not die. I mean, to me, honestly, that's the one thing that's I just can't wrap my mind around is that even though he's shooting outside there, one of the Secret Service agents wouldn't have just put a bullet right between his eyes. You know what I'm saying? Before the guy pulled a shotgun out. You know, these are the kind of people that are supposed to be like watching the way you walk because you might have a gun on your hip. It's like, what is he hiding? How is he hiding the shotgun?
It's not just that. It's all the things that they flex that they can do with technology. All of the things that they flex that they have access to. Like, I guarantee you, if you started a Telegram group today and you started to try to recruit people to stage a coup, I promise you, you'd have the FBI at your house within 24 hours. I guarantee it. Like, it's not even a question. So what I found interesting was the difference in reaction, like the polar opposite reaction between Dana White and Erica Kirk. Like, it was so unbelievable. You would think that she would have at least, like, you know, dipped her pinky in her water and like dabbed her eyes before she walked out into the hallway or something. But did you guys see somebody caught a couple of the news anchors that were there on a hot mic? There's a video going around.
I haven't heard that.
Somebody caught a couple of the news people standing around on a hot mic before it all happened. And they were joking about how loose the security was at the front entrance. They were basically saying like how like anybody could have gotten in the front door before any of this even went down.
That's really suspicious. I mean, just think about it though. The idea that you have the White House press secretary, Catherine Leavitt, out there saying, or Carolyn Leavitt saying, shots fired. Some shots will be fired tonight. And then the gaha, the guy that laughs when you hear the like, what?
So extra.
You know, I mean, if this is not a stage event, it's strange language. Like this is her job to have messaging, right, and branding for the White House. What we're told is Trump's been shot in the ear, and we're going to get to that. There was another attempt on his life at some golf course or something, and then so this being the third, and then even again, whether you guys believe it or not, the public believes that Charlie Kirk was shot to death in 7 months ago or something like that, 8 months ago, not that long, you know, within the past year. So the idea that you're going to talk about shots being fired as a joke, and usually isn't shots fired kind of almost like a past tense joke, or like kind of when you use that phrase would be like somebody would say a quip and you'd be like, oh, shots fired. Like that somebody's going, it's a weird thing to predict. And then something like this.
It was like the clearest case of witchcraft ever. Honestly, like there's no reason, especially her of all people.
That's what I'm
to
saying.
make a
Her of all
comment.
people, right?
Yeah, to make a comment about like how that's about to go down. I actually have the video here really quick. I'll show everybody.
I love that they have like two random chicks holding the front door open. Like, where's the guys? We're not even trying anymore. It's not even like, I just mean like they're not even like Secret Service people. It's like the girls who work here are holding the door. Even if it was the guys, it wouldn't even make it better. It's like just like they might as well put a doorstop in. Like, they put up a doorstop and a scarecrow. Don't fuck with this guy.
How insane is that, dude?
Yeah. Yeah.
Calling it out. They're not even a Secret Service guy. It's not even Secret Service people. It's just a couple of girls that work here watching the front door.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like Trump, it's got to be, whether you love him or not, you'd probably acknowledge that there's probably hasn't been as many presidents that have been as hated as much as him. You would think that he would have like the best security, like the tightest security possible.
Yeah, you gotta wonder, but there was another president that they tried to kill in that same exact location. Did you know that, JT? Reagan.
Oh yeah. So that was the last one.
Yeah.
It was funny. I made a reel about that, and it was probably got shadow banned like crazy on some of these apps. Talking about it was John Hinckley Jr. and supposedly he shot Ronald Reagan because he had a thing for Jodie Foster. What kind of weird narrative is that? And all the boomers just said, "Yep, that makes sense to me." Well, it turns out John Hinckley Jr. was from the Hinckley family, and the Hinckley family owned this massive oak. I want to say it was like Vanderbilt Oil. And so they were friends with another really prominent oil family in Texas. It just so happened to be the Bush family. And it was like literally scheduled like that the night of the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan, that George Bush's brother was going to go have dinner with John Hinckley Jr.'s brother, but it got canceled because of what happened. But yeah, like we have a situation where, George H.W. Bush was vice president at the time. He was formerly the head man at the CIA, Central Intelligence. And if Ronald Reagan would have died, then guess who would have been president? Would have been George W. Bush or George H.W. Bush. And nobody makes that connection that, oh, that's kind of suspicious that your family, like, this guy. But no, forget it. Take the blue pill. It was totally because this guy was crushing on Jodie Foster. And she would have been impressed by that.
Well, two things. One,
Nonsense.
I think the most hated president had to have been Biden, honestly.
Like, no. Because I don't think most of us even believed he was really even president. No, Trump is way more. Like, Trump is polarizing. A lot of people just thought.
Well, no, that's true, because he's getting more hate from both sides. That's true. I'll agree with that. But the interesting thing about the ballroom, or about where they had the dinner at, allegedly that is the only venue in all of DC that can host an event like that. And that's
why we need a ballroom.
Exactly.
That's why they need the ballroom.
I got to share this real quick as we stay on that topic. But yeah, we'll get into the idea that you have this massive right-wing social media influencer campaign to say, that's why we need a ballroom. That's like, we need a meme, like where all the news reporters are repeating the exact same phrase. But you know what? This isn't the first time this has happened. Do you remember when Chancellor Palpatine, when Yoda and the Jedi tried to take him out? The attempt on my life has left me in need of a ballroom.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Is that what he says?
No, Brian. Never.
No, but he
said never let a crisis go to waste. He said,
exactly. He demonstrated order out of chaos. That's all he did.
Let's talk about those reactions, though. Erica Kirk. I mean, I think we're going to get into the Butler assassination attempt, or supposed assassination attempt. And there was really some suspicious stuff about the way that the press were angling around people to get the shot, to get the famous picture of Trump pumping his fist. But this is kind of similar to, it's like, that nobody seemed too bothered when you can hear like there was Trump is sitting out there, and I guess they're doing like a magic trick with Carolyn Levitt, this mentalist, and sitting by Melania. And there's all these, you can hear bang, 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 bang. You're hearing all these shots fired. And Trump is doing like the Pepe meme of like the one, like raising the glass with like a smirk on his face. Nobody seems that scared except for, I guess some people were getting under the tables. Dana White is thinking it's the coolest thing he's ever seen, even though who knows how many people are dead outside the door. I mean, of course, thank God nobody died from this thing, but he's acting like this is the best thing ever. But also, whoever's taking whoever's doing the video inside there is remaining very calm too, because you got like the still shot and it's sweeping around people. And then you have Erica Kirk walking by, and it just so happens that she utters the line, "I just want to go home," as she's boohoo crying. Like, what are the odds that this person gets that soundbite from the CEO of Turning Point USA right then?
Dude.
The QAnoners would tell you that it's all part of the plan and that it's all a movie and that they're doing this on purpose to wake everyone up.
It's very much a show. And in fact, if you guys
Definitely
didn't know,
is.
Oz Perlman was a magician, a mentalist, a hypnotist.
Yes,
who's
this
standing
is
next
the
to
guy
Trump.
Trump was sitting at a table facing the crowd, and right when all this is taking place, this guy Oz Perlman is doing this magic trick involving Carolyn Levitt's baby name. He's saying I can guess the baby name because she's pregnant.
Yeah, watch, ready? I'll play it right here. And then you gotta you just gotta see. It's just crazy that this is literally, there is a hypnotist, which I've been telling you guys this whole time. I tell everybody it's hypnosis. They're doing hypnosis. I've been trying to tell everybody this constantly, but look, that's like the moment.
There's the Pepe meme.
Yeah. But it's just but that dude right here, that's the hypnotist. That's Oz Perlman, bro. He's a mentalist, hypnotist.
But look at Trump. Look at everybody else reacting maybe on cue, and not on that cue, but right when they're supposed to. And Trump is he can't even be bothered to even turn his head. He just has a smirk on his face,
yeah,
it's happening.
Yeah.
Look
just
at him.
It's so funny. Oh, so funny.
You know what I thought was super bizarre, and I don't know if you guys have the footage of it, but what I thought was super bizarre was that they rushed JD Vance off stage.
Yep. Right.
I got it.
Solid 20 seconds before Trump.
I got it right here. Ready?
A solid, dude. I want to say if we're getting down to actually making wagers on this, I would say it's a solid 10 to 15 seconds before.
I think they said.
Ready?
I think it was at least 10 seconds. Yeah.
Here it is. Here's JD Vance. Out. JD Vance is out. Ready? Trump's still sitting here with the hypnotist. Oh, now they move Trump out. And he falls on the ground. Yeah.
Did you count the seconds?
It was 5.
It was about 15.
I like how the
actually.
one guy, I don't know who that was, but I guess it looked like his wife was under the table, and he kind of just had his one leg under there. He was like,
what about the one where
I'm going to
JFK
protect
is
part
running?
of me, but I'm not actually that scared.
What about the one where they're covering JFK and his wife's walking behind like this and no one's covering her? Have you see that one?
Yeah. No, but yeah, go back to that Oz Perlman. So this guy is interesting because I don't think anybody had heard of him. I mean, at least I hadn't heard of him.
He's
until
a Jewish Israeli.
I didn't know his. I did not
hypnotist.
know his name. Well, he's Israeli, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
That he did a podcast with Joe Rogan, and I saw the clip going around where he predicted, or he guessed, supposedly, Joe Rogan's ATM PIN number. Now, there's really only two ways you could actually do that. Is one, you already know what it is. You're not guessing. You have access to maybe intelligence agencies. You know what his PIN number is. Or is demons, bro.
Demons. Yeah.
It's there. I think those are the only two options that make any sense. But I think it's more likely that this dude is connected with the people who are spying on people, and he knew.
No, bro, he's a wizard. He's a wizard.
He's a magician.
He's
a
literally.
magician.
I think what he calls himself is a mentalist.
Yeah,
right. But he's like Brian talked about a few episodes ago. He's like a magician of the highest order. Like that dude is he's dealing with demons.
Yes, he has a demon that he has made an agreement with that follows him around, that gives him understanding, that he can essentially read your thoughts. If you speak in your mind out loud, there's a difference between like reading your mind and then reading your thoughts. So like if I ask you a question and I say your PIN number in your head, when you say it in your head, you're still like, the demons can somewhat hear that. They can't guess
especially
what
if these people are compromised already and already have demons in them.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
He's around those people.
Yep. You can't. They can't hear what you're thinking. But if they ask you to say something in your head, and you say it, you do what they are asking, the demon can pick up on this stuff. Like this is how aliens talk to you. They talk to you in your mind. It's the same thing. And so these people, high level magicians, work with these demons where they can essentially have communication through the mind, and they do that. And that's how they do a lot of their mentalist tricks.
And let's be honest, these demons have actually literally watched Joe Rogan type his PIN number in.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Well,
you know what I mean? So it's like they've seen it.
Yeah.
Two things can be true at one time.
It's probably his phone.
This guy could definitely be communing with demons, and he could also be connected with the 3-letter agencies.
Yeah, no, they kind of do both go hand in hand.
All in the same. I guess the point is that the thing about him being on the stage right when this is taking place, right when the magic trick happens, like he's doing magic here, but what the real magic is this supposed event.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, how many other hypnotists do you think they have that are not popularly well known that are working at that stage at the same time? He's just a friend of them, so it's not like he's just their friend. And I got another. Maybe that's a clue for the people, everybody to know that this is an op because this guy is a Fed.
Well, and the other thing I just want to say,
Feds. Y'all saw this guy, right? The supposed shooter.
But he's got an IDF sweatshirt on, or
what's that symbol on his shirt you see right there? Is it?
Yeah, we know what it is.
Yeah, is that? I mean, we're talking about Feds here, so. Oh, wait a second. That's what that symbol on his shirt. It looks just like it, doesn't it? Doesn't it look just like it?
I don't think it's deniable if that picture is real. I have not verified if that picture is real. But if
they took it down, it was on his Instagram, and they took it down.
It absolutely is an IDF shirt, just like the one. Remember that Jeffrey Epstein guy had? He had a shirt just like it, didn't he?
Yeah, I got a question. Who wore it better? Like this is the good meme.
So
it's like, who wore it better, Mr. Epstein here or this guy? You know, like Cole Allen.
What do you think about the idea, too, that this guy worked at JPL? JPL, the company that was started by Jack Parsons, the Lemite and satanic devil worshiper.
Mm-hmm.
This guy happens to do this. The guy he was in his early 30s, but like I think they say he was 31 years old. What would be the point? Like, what would motivate this guy to go do that? Unless it's something, maybe it's something as simple as it was MK Ultra. I mean, like he was like a Manchurian candidate. Like it doesn't make any sense for this person to do this, especially if he's connected with, the space agencies. Isn't Trump kind of a friend to them? I mean, isn't he kind of promoting all the space garbage that we're seeing with Artemis?
I think the answer to your question has something to do with the fact that his head wasn't canoed by the Secret Service.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason why the dude is absolutely still alive. And the other thing that I just want to say too, and I think people already understand this, but you can't fake the energy of chaos.
Without hypnosis.
Well, what I mean is go watch videos of actual chaos taking place in large groups of people. Like the fear is so real. Like you can't fake like the mass fear and the mass chaos in a giant group setting. Like it's gonna look, because when you watch
Unnatural.
that footage, when you watch that footage, it does not look like chaos.
Let's look
It
at
does
it.
not look like fear.
Let's look at it right here, because this footage is hilarious, guys. I love this footage. It's so funny. This act, listen, I want you guys to pay attention to the lines that these guys are saying, and you're going to see real police come in afterwards. They act nothing like these hypnotized stage actor police people, because the real police come in and they're quiet, because that's what you would do in a situation. Okay, but just watch. While the media is all there. Watch your crossfire! Watch your crossfire! Where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? Like, bro, guys, come on. You cannot be that naive. You have got to be kidding me. But what? Let's just keep watching. Let's just keep watching. Look out! Watch your crossfire! Go, go, go! Let's do this! Mind you, he's already been caught. He's already been arrested. This is after. This is still going on. And now these are normal people. Look at how their behavior is. Look. Look, normal people come in. They're not screaming. Why aren't they screaming? Watch your crossfire, guys. You need to watch it.
Except for you filming this whole time.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're fine.
Yeah. I mean, come on, guys. Look. Dude, bro, come on, guys. Watch your crossfire.
It would have been so awesome to see like a cop walk in with like a donut in one hand and a coffee in the other hand, going, "What's going on?"
Yeah, it's like the chief was Chief Wiggum or something like that from The Simpsons.
Yeah, it would be interesting to get like a Navy SEALs take on the chaos of that and the lack of organization, because I would imagine.
Where's it coming from?
Right, like I would imagine in most scenarios, like, what do I know? But I would imagine that Secret Service agents, they've all got their comms on.
Yeah.
They would know within a second.
Yes.
Exactly where it's coming from, how many people there are, and what the status of that person is.
Yeah, they
all
would have
of them
Secret
would know at
Service
one moment.
all over that hotel, because it's not like they're just in the room with Trump. They're like all around the room, assessing threats for all the things, and especially like him leaving later too.
Is there any footage of the moment? Is there any footage of the moment he's captured?
Not that I've seen.
But they
wouldn't be shouting, "Watch your crossfire." That's like, bro, you shout that when you see other enemies or there's bullets coming from another direction. You don't. And it's not like you just shout that in a room where you're trying to listen where the bad guy's at and what's going on. You don't shout around and scream. This is so nonsensical and antithetical.
Shoot me from over there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like first day of gun training 101 is like watching for crossfire.
Yeah, okay,
yes,
so
bro. Well, you don't need to be shouting that unless you see someone shooting crossfire, Like,
there's no video of the guy being subdued. But there is a still image of it.
That's terrible.
The look on Lindsey Graham's face, dude. Like, you guys see me? Did I do a good job? Yes.
Aaron's making me laugh too hard now.
So ridiculous. The outfit that they picked for him and everything, dude. Oh my god.
Brian's not even laughing. How do you not find that funny, Brian?
It's the look on his face, like he was happy to
Lindsey
be
Graham
the
really
first
jumped
one.
on that grenade for everybody.
It's comical, but it's whatever.
Aaron's got me laughing hard.
That's a good use of AI right there.
Are you sure that was AI? I thought that might have been. Oh, that wasn't real? I was actually going to give Lindsey some props on that one. Oh, okay. All right. This is the time of the show where I'm going to say a mea culpa. I'm going to say that, and I've already said this before, that I thought the Butler thing was real at first. Might have been a situation. I was on vacation. I heard the news. And before I heard the news, the family was all worked up and I didn't know. But the more we talked about it, and we talked about this maybe even a year ago, Brian and I talking about how the guy just happened to take the picture of the flying bullet was the same guy who took the picture of Bush getting the news about 9/11 inside the child's classroom. Dad was just like, again, what are the odds? But here's an interesting video talking about, again, how things did not appear to be as they seemed on the Butler assassination attempt.
Did you forget about the assassination attempt on Trump back in 2024? Well, Trump quietly closed the investigation, which is an odd thing to do for something so substantial. Interestingly, footage has surfaced with angles revealing details previously unseen. Photographers being seemingly ushered into position, and even a crane lowering the American flag, which was perfectly timed for this iconic shot. One that's now hanging up in the White House. Back in November, the FBI closed the case and DHS prevented it from being reopened. Wired kicked off an investigation, which reveals Trump's own supporters now believe the Butler assassination attempt was staged. From former MAGA loyalists to QAnon leaders and even Joe Kent himself, many are now questioning the entire event. Last month, Joe Kent, former director of counterintelligence, went on an interview with Tucker Carlson and shared that his team was responsible for investigating foreign ties to the assassination, and apparently they were quickly told to stop. There are a few more details he revealed that we can't share on social media because of censorship and shadow bans, but I'd highly encourage you to go read the full piece over at Wired. I'm the founder of Interval News. We're on a mission to highlight all the stories that are getting suppressed or outright censored, especially ones like this. If you're interested in the mission, hop over to interval.news and I'll catch you in the next one.
So yeah, what do you think about that? That was really suspicious, the way that this is the time where this guy, again, there's an active shooter. Like, nobody really knows if this guy's alive or dead who shot at Trump, supposedly. And what I've heard from a lot of people who seem to know about this kind of thing, they would have never let him stand up at all. They would have taken him off the back of the stage. And also the idea that the press is getting moved right in front of him. When, again, we don't know if there's only one shooter or not at that point, I'm guessing. Because if they missed one guy on a roof, which is like basically just unbelievable in itself, is that these guys all assess where the best places to take a shot at somebody is from a long distance away. These guys plan these things out months in advance. And they don't know where the one shooter is. So very likely they could have missed the second one. And the press has got their backs to where the bullet came from. And then the American flag, though, I mean, seriously, that got lowered down right over him so he could have a new painting in the White House.
The timing.
Yeah, it's like it's dangerous these days just to straight up call these things a lie, and but it's like, dude, it's so hard to, like, so in that one specifically, there's always a couple of things that just, they don't add up at all. And in that one, the one we're talking about, I forget where it took place. I know you just mentioned
Butler,
it, but
PA.
in Butler. Okay, so that one, the only thing that's so weird about that is that, like, we all know someone that was in the military at some point in time, right? Most of these trainers, I'm not even talking about like spec ops or like SEALs. I'm talking about just like well-trained snipers. Dude, they could shoot a tick off of someone's arm or scalp from hundreds of yards away. Like, they're so good at what they do. And there's video footage out there of people seeing this person on top of that rooftop.
Right.
Before it all happens.
Yeah, they saw him. And so how does the Secret Service not see him?
Right. That's the question. So it's like either it's none of it's real, or we're dealing with the worst team of agents that any president has ever had. And listen, like the way these people are trained, the military people are trained, I don't know. I don't think that they're poorly trained. I think that they're incredibly trained and they're incredibly good at what they do.
I think so too. I mean, of course they were showing, I remember at the time, they were showing that really inept looking Secret Service woman who looked like she was just straight up lost when she was there. So maybe they're not all the best, but it does remind me again, whether
Well,
you
they did
believe
start incorporating women on their team now, so that
whether
was
you
something
believe
that they didn't do that.
the Charlie Kirk thing was real or not, if you are at TPUSA and you say that it was real, like how the heck was Charlie Kirk's security team not all fired after that? It's like you got one job, just the one. And so you don't let them go. You know, like, I mean, you think that just, it's not even necessarily malice, or it doesn't seem like that you blame them, but you are now shown to be unreliable when it matters the most. So,
well, I mean,
if
they
you're
were kind of
again,
fired.
now we're talking about that Eric Kirk had to cancel this one event supposedly, and I think it was a straight up lie. And was it in Georgia? She was supposed to speak at, was it the University of Georgia campus? And some big basketball arena where they basically couldn't even fill out even like 10% of it. It was, the crowd was so small there. And that's probably why she canceled. But the point is, if she's under serious threats, you got a team that's proven unreliable when it mattered the most, because she wouldn't be CEO if they were good at their jobs, right?
Wait.
So in the same way,
Wait.
like, why wouldn't Trump, after Butler, when it's inexcusable to let a guy get up on a roof with a high-powered rifle, why didn't they just clean house at the Secret Service, right?
Yeah. Wait. So Erica Kirk had an event and she had to cancel?
Well, no, you didn't hear about that. So
Out?
she was there was a TPUSA event, and she was going to be talking with JD Vance. And so the story goes is that she, at the very last minute, she pulled out of this event, but JD Vance still did it.
The one that was a couple weeks ago, and there was like a fourth of the gymnasium was filled.
It wasn't even full.
Oh,
no,
dude,
no,
it was crickets.
Well, it was like
so bad.
It was probably like a small basketball type stadium, but not small. It was like 8,500 people could fill this thing up. I think they said there might have been 1,000 or 2,000 people there, something like that.
Oh my gosh, so many people are not buying the narrative.
But anyway,
great,
point being is
awesome.
That the news reached out to the White House to find out if there was an actual security threat, because it's crazy that if she's worried about her life and then JD Vance is there, he's the vice president. The guy was literally just negotiating in Iran like the week before. So a lot of people would be gunning for him before they'd be gunning for her. And no, they said, no, we assess no threat to anything, to anybody there. Point being to all that is to say that you fire security teams if they can't keep people safe. You don't promote them. You don't give more money. And if you're Trump, yeah, why wouldn't you say, you would think you would say, okay, we obviously have some Judases in my camp. I got to start cleaning house because I can't trust these people. But yet Trump doesn't even seem bothered by any of this stuff. When you would think, you might be acting like David Wilcock at the end of his life, where he's acting like really shook, but he's there just with a grin on his face, like not bothered. And obviously the big smoking gun, or the lack of the smoking gun, in the Trump Butler situation is the fact that a high-powered rifle blew part of his ear off, but yet there's no scar on his ear. That would have shredded his ear at the velocity that round was going. But instead it was just like a little red mark, and everybody wore their Band-Aids on the ears for like a week or something.
What kind of bullet was it? It was like a 30-06 or something like that? Like
no, I don't think it was a 30-06,
right?
but it was at least an AR-15.
Yeah.
But very similar in that situation. I know Tucker Carlson did a pretty extensive deep dive into that situation. I forgot the guy's name who supposedly did it. But before the investigation was done, they had people at the FBI hosing down the roof, scrubbing the thing. And then just the same way, like after the Charlie Kirk thing, they paved over the crime scene, where they were ripping up the dirt and putting new pavers down.
It's so insane, dude. It's so insane.
Yeah, it's like this trial, like the trial with Tyler Robinson, I want to say it's probably going to take at least a couple years. And it's like, you're going to contaminate the crime scene like in a what was it, like a week later they were doing that?
Dude, I think the next day they dug it up. It was within 48 hours they dug it up
They
and
did.
cemented it.
I want to say that
It was quick.
they also didn't they also like hose out the rental vehicle that Charlie Kirk was carried in, and they sold it.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but everything about it, everything about it, including how they got him there, right? Like the paramedics didn't show up. Like there was no, like, dude, wasn't that like the number one thing of every show we grew up watching? Like Miami Vice and like every single like PI show or like detective show was like, don't touch the crime scene. Leave the crime scene alone. Like don't like that was like embedded in our
What are you doing
brains.
walking through my crime scene?
Right. You weren't even allowed to smell anything in the crime scene or look at it the wrong way. And now, it's all so shifty, man. I just keep thinking of that video of Obama talking about how to topple a nation and talking about, just like putting enough, what was the word that he used? Enough sewage, enough raw sewage into the public square to confuse things, a little bit of truth and a bunch of conspiracy and just enough raw sewage in the public square to keep everybody from understanding what the truth is. So no one knows. Everyone's confused. And then we've been at that state for a while, but we're at a stage now where it's like, not only does no one believe anything, everyone thinks everything's AI. No one believes anything. No one even knows what to think anymore. But there's a huge amount of people that literally just don't even care anymore. Like, there's so many people that are just like, just let the chaos happen already. Like, we're over it.
Yeah, I often say that that phrase where it says, when every day is crazy, no days are crazy. And so I think eventually it just becomes white noise, because I think some people just say, I can't even worry about this stuff anymore. And not saying you should worry about it, but yeah, that's the truth. We've been talking about that over and over again about how was that real or was that fake? And we know that of course, some people are saying everything's fake, but I don't think that everything is fake, but I think that's probably where they want you to be. They either want you to think 100% of everything is real or 100% everything is fake, because they're going to slip something by you if you're in either of those two camps.
Do you remember when the 80s was, guys, and everything was like chill and like life was normal and stuff? And like now we're like looking at the situation and it's like I used to think like, man, remember like movies were so exciting. Well, I wonder why real life's not like movies. And now it's like movies times 10. like this is like such
it's
a
just
joke.
Like bad movies that like we're like living in a bad
movies,
movie,
yeah.
though. It's just a dumb.
Exactly.
It's really dumb and not believable.
Yeah.
Just real life is like, it's like a conglomeration of 80s and 90s B movies that never hit the cinema.
Well, it's funny, like, because I do really enjoy movies, and there's elements I think where like a movie kind of has to, either it's got to go completely just ham and just be kind of just silly, like Dumb and Dumber. But even in those movies, it's kind of like, it reminds me of like Ghostbusters, where Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels are idiots, but not everybody's a moron in that movie, right? Just like in the Ghostbusters, everybody else is taking things seriously. So like it's like the movie has to take itself a little bit serious, but then you get like another example is like Guardians of the Galaxy. The first one is great because they're kind of goofy and everybody else is taking everything seriously. And then you get to like the next movie and everybody's cracking jokes and everything is stupid. That's where we're at right now. We're in like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 territory where everybody, like, you need some straight characters. You need like the serious character to be annoyed with the moron. They're all morons now. Like every bit of this is like, yeah, you see like the stuff that Trump's tweeting out and you see all the people reacting to it. And then other politicians are trying to be like Trump. And you're like, oh, just make it all stop. It is. We're in Psyopville, USA. Now check this out. I want to switch to this subject about the SPLC creating psyops.
So now we find out that the very organizations that are supposed to be fighting hate, racism, and bigotry have actually been directly funding it. This might be the biggest news story of the year. So the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC, they were just indicted because they received donations with the mission of fighting racism, hatred, bigotry, all of that. However, they've now found that the SPLC donated more than $3 million of donor money to the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, the Aryan Nation, the Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, which is a white supremacist motorcycle club, and even the American Front. Like, y'all remember these guys? You know, the khaki pant and blue shirt racists you've seen everywhere? Yeah, turns out they were being funded by the SPLC. See all this money right here? All of it went to racist organizations with the intention of creating hatred, creating violence. The very people that are paid to fight against this have actually been funding it. Oh, and this isn't some crazy opinion online. This is an indictment.
That's freaking nuts. That is so
Absolutely
nuts.
insane.
Like, and I saw that too, and I'm just like, wow, of course they are. Of course they're funding it, because everybody knew that all those little stupid queer boys wearing those khaki pants and the masks, like,
Yeah, with their tiki
everyone
torches.
knew. Yeah, bro, you're not a freaking patriot, bro. Like, we don't hide our faces under masks like pathetic worms. We're obviously not that type of people. So and we're not gonna dress up in a uniform and all matchy. Like, clearly you're a hive mind normie retard if you're gonna do that. And clearly the patriotic people, the genuine patriotic people, they have nothing like that. So it's like, it was very obvious that it was fake.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people assumed that a lot of it was fake. But I mean, that's the whole thing where, like Antifa shows up and there was already like a pallet of bricks put there first. And like, so who, there's no construction happening anywhere near this site, but for some reason there's like a pallet of bricks there. So I think that's definitely what they want. They want us to fight. They want chaos, as we've been saying. Order through chaos.
Order out of
is their
chaos.
mantra. So, but of course, even it makes sense too that just the way we talk about like big pharma, and if they're selling you basically alleviation of your symptoms for this problem, it's like, well, if they could sell you the cure, well, then you're not a customer anymore. So if your business is race hustling, well, you need a boogeyman. You need the bad people because it justifies what you're doing. Now, this is alleged. I'm not sure if this is true or not. I read this on X. If you looked at that graphic he showed, he said that $271,000 were put to unite the right, and that was basically that Charlottesville thing, where I think a lot of normal people were like going out there to protest the tearing down of these Confederate monuments. Maybe not even just Confederate, just monuments in general, and they invested all this money, $271,000, into funding these guys to go out there with tiki torches and masks and say you won't replace us and all this kind of crap like that.
So dumb.
Again, this is alleged. I'm not sure if this is true. They raised $81 million based on that event. So that's a very small investment if your return is $81 million.
Wow.
But you know what's really fascinating is a lot of people were pointing at certain social media influencers who might also be taking money from these kind of people, because this is what you get the idea of like controlled opposition or somebody being accused of being a Fed. Well, they don't have to necessarily be a Fed, because you have these powerful NGOs like the SPLC and the ADL and all that kind of stuff of, the policing speech and all that stuff. And again, they need negative speech. They need provocative people in order to try to say, this is dangerous. See, here's your boogeyman right here. And then I'm going to shut down these other legitimate people. Or what was the thing you were saying a couple weeks ago, Aaron, about what was that project called that the Bolsheviks used? Was it Project Trust or something like that?
Operation Trust.
Operation Trust. So you fund this other sect to rope in the real people. So you have a front for, hey, we're against the Bolsheviks. So then you get your enemies list from them when they start to gather the people together. And that's basically what they were saying what the SPLC has been accused of, is they're paying informants. The point is, it's like we don't know what they're actually doing, but the truth is you have maybe one of the more prominent people in that movement is actually being paid by the ADL, and they're taking down all your information, and they're going to get you in trouble one day. But really, what's really crazy is, speaking of fake and gay, Nick Fuentes. So Nick Fuentes is, what is he, only like, he's still like mid-20s or something. So the Charlottesville thing, I believe, took place in 2017. So like Nick Fuentes was a teenager when this happened, and probably nobody had heard of him, except for he was featured on Time, by Time magazine for an interview. Did you know that back then? Because he went to
Teenager?
Yeah, he went to Charlottesville. Check this out.
Supposed to be entering Boston University for my sophomore year, but in response to recent death threats and threats against my physical safety, I decided that that might not be the best idea. When you start receiving death threats to the extent that I have, it just becomes a liability to my brand, to my academic success and everything else, when you do have to worry about people ganging up on you or whatever. It's disturbing to me the level of hate that people have been able to express and been able to feel against someone they've never met, never saw, never had a conversation with. They say that we're the hateful ones, we're the bigots, and I get messages all day long from people I've never met telling me what a terrible person I am. There's no hate on this side, I hate no one. I would never do anything like that, and so I think it's a little bit upsetting that the political climate is the way it is. My reason for going down to Charlottesville over the weekend was to demonstrate. It was to show solidarity for a cause which has not been talked about in the mainstream media.
So how about that? So before anybody knew who he was one of the people being interviewed by Time magazine.
Dude, he was media trained so young. He had to have been. He speaks so
What do you mean,
smooth.
why? You're asking why, Brian?
Yeah.
Because he was probably paid by people like, if it was not the SPLC, it was somebody like that. But I mean, that's it's not me. It's the DOJ is alleging that SPLC funded the fake part of that protest. You probably had a real organic protest, and it was infiltrated by bad actors to make it look worse. And I'm saying that there's a real good chance that this little Nicky is one of them. Because again, how do they pick him out of all the people to interview, like this 18-year-old punk that, and again, if he's getting death threats and people hate him, like, why is he doing this prominent interview with his name on there? And he's talking about his brand. It's bad for my brand.
A brand as a teenager? And wasn't he one of the protagonists on January 6th?
Yeah, I was going to show you. Okay, we'll just go right there because I have this video, and
he was already popular at that point, though.
I know, we know, but again,
makes it
this
even
is
worse.
the thing. It's like that we do know that, I can't remember what year it was. He was getting really blackballed on social media, but he's come back with a vengeance, like with going on all the biggest shows. And you had so many people during January 6th with the protests on the Capitol and going into the Capitol building. So many people were losing their livelihoods. They were getting locked up. They were being prosecuted. And you didn't even have to necessarily even be in Washington, D.C. that day to go to jail. What was the guy who was like the one of the top guys at the Proud Boys? Like he went to prison. And he supposedly, because he was provoking people to do what they did, except we have little Nicky over here saying this.
Keep moving towards the Capitol. It appears we are taking the Capitol Keep marching and don't relax. Never relax. Yeah! They're evacuating the Capitol. They're evacuating. Break down the barriers and disregard the police. This Capitol belongs to us. They're evacuating the Capitol. They're evacuating the Capitol. They're evacuating the Capitol. The police are evacuating the Capitol. Politicians throw wrath, fury out of the people's house.
That is
so
super
weird,
sus.
dude.
Super sus.
So weird.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't see that until, I don't know, maybe end of last year. Probably when he kind of shifted his message so much so quickly. And I saw a lot of people sharing that video, and they said, "Hey, did you know that he was at January 6th provoking people?" And I said, "No." And when I saw that video, I was like, "Whoa, that is unbelievable!" Because lots of real people, even like remember Owen Troyer he was on Infowars, but now he's doing his own thing. He went to jail. Lots of these people went to jail, and this guy's telling people to disregard the police, break down the barriers, and storm the Capitol building
on a megaphone.
On a megaphone. And of course, you don't see him going in there, do you? How come?
Right. Why is he not leading the charge? Why is he not down there at the front of the pack?
Well, the worst part, I think, was when he said it in his video. He said the idiots that stormed the Capitol and went in there. And he said that on his own live. He called them all idiots and said, I didn't go in the Capitol because you guys are dumb. And he literally called the people that he was directing to go in there dumb idiots.
But his idea was brilliant.
Yeah.
It wasn't his idea.
Well, right. Exactly.
It wasn't his idea. That's what I'm saying.
So weird.
So when you see something like this and you see that he was connected with Charlottesville, and for some reason he's featured on the news talking about it when he was anonymous basically to most people back then. And then he becomes who we know today. And then he does something like that when so many people are getting arrested and ruined, like lives seriously ruined from that, because, when the federal government's threatening to put you in jail and they have unlimited resources to take you out. Even if you could stay out of jail, like financially, you'd be totally ruined. You'd be in so much debt just to like you can't fight Uncle Sam like that.
If one of us would have shown up that day and would have been talking like that, or if we would have been on social media talking like that, 100% behind bars. 100%. Not even
Straight to jail. Straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
No, it's not even a question.
What do you think, though? I mean, so, and here's a conspiracy. We can just kind of speculate about this. It was interesting. I did see some people not only pointing to Nick when this SPLC comes out, but they were saying that Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, who else left the country?
They said Nick Fuentes. They'll say
Sneeko as well.
Sneeko, Nick Fuentes, Ian Carroll, Candace Owens, all were out of the country at the exact same time. They all quickly left the country.
Yeah, Candace Owens said, "Oh, I forgot. I can't do the show tomorrow. I'm actually going out of the country." What do you mean?
I think Candace.
You forgot that?
The difference was, I think, Carol and Sneeko they just had plans, but Candace and what's his name, Fuentes made it an emergency escape, both to, mind you, the Vatican, to Italy. Both of them, those two, the other guys knew they were going somewhere, but Sneeko, what's his name, Fuentes and Candace both said, "Oh, we can't do the show this way because surprise, we're taking a vacation to Italy or to Venice." Yeah,
surprise.
And so,
that
really makes you wonder
that Sneeko and Ian Carroll already had plans to go out, but
I know Sneeko was already in Indonesia or something like that.
They were already doing stuff, and so they weren't a part of that. But the real suspicious part was the fact that both of them went to the same place. They both went to Italy. And they both, that's where the Vatican is, right where the alien stuff is going on. And they're both little puppets for the Vatican. Both of them are being little puppets for the Vatican. We know this. It's pretty obvious at this point. And you're starting to see, okay, so it was almost like the Vatican had a little assemble, Avengers, assemble, and made the emergency call.
Reptilian
and that's when
rally.
those two showed up.
Yeah, they all met underground and did all their weird stuff. You know what? But the thing about it is, some people are speculating that they were going to get subpoenaed, and that's why they left, to avoid the subpoenas. I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't think that there's a way to flee to get away from this if there is evidence that the SPLC gave them 1 cent. If there is a paper trail showing that any one of these people, who would obviously be on the complete opposite ideological spectrum as the SPLC, if you can show that they took any money from them, that is going to be reputation ruining for them.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was just maybe like a chaotic, like panic mode by ourselves some time kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like let's like what's going on, what's happening. Dude, it's so impossible to know, man. It's so impossible to know. It's so impossible to know who's being honest, who's not being honest, like what story's real, what story's not. I mean, we live in a day and age where the AI is so sophisticated that they could literally feed you a custom feed that would push you into some kind of psychosis based off of like the kind of stuff that they're sending you. And you could fully believe something about a topic that like no one else believes because they're getting a different feed than you. You know, like we have they like people can be so manipulated so quickly with any given directive. And they've got most of these podcasters, especially like the big ones, right? Most of the podcasters that are the kind of people that people are questioning. I mean, we're talking about people that are in the public eye regularly, millions of followers, clearly living a fantastic lifestyle. They've got these people on the payroll, and they've got most of these live streamers on the payroll, right? Like the people that are going live and like they're doing the IRL streams. Dude, they've got these people to a point where like they can paint any narrative that they want them to at the drop of a hat. They just put out a memo, call these people's handlers and say, hey, operation whatever they've prepared for, and all of a sudden they're talking about that now, and they're swaying everybody's public opinion instantly. It's just, I don't know, man. The closer it does feel like, and you can tell me what you think. And I hate to say this because I don't want to speak anything negative. I certainly don't want to. I don't know. I want to be really careful with my words. It does feel though like something is building up. Like there is like we're building up to like some sort of major precipice. Like I don't know how much more chaotic things can get before something crumbles, something explodes, something insane happens. It feels like we're at that precipice right now.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, yeah, I've said that for a while now. It seems like things have accelerated after 2020. And it feels like it's going quicker now. But I mean, I'm just saying like that I really am just thinking about that. If the SPLC is funding these bad actors in these probably real, I mean, obviously they could do two things at once. They could obviously completely inorganically create a protest and insert their jackbooted thugs and pretending to be the Klan or, neo-Yazis or something like that. Or they can just like insert them in real protests. And so again, like you said, that Project Trust or Operation Trust, they can go infiltrate them. They get all these guys' numbers and all their information. And eventually, here you go. Here's the list of all the dissidents. But if they can do that, well, obviously it seems very easy that they could just slip some podcasts or some money to say some stuff that is super controversial. And that might also explain why when real podcasters, like real people who are not paid by the SPLC, and you can believe me or not believe me, we're not paid by anybody to do this.
Or paid by any organizations or any countries or any societies
we have no,
or anyone.
You guys fund this podcast. Obviously,
But
my buddy
donate.
Josh Truex helps me with this Modern Roots Life sponsorship. Nobody else gives us any money. So that being said,
bro, I'm praying for financial restoration every single night.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like I'm asking Jesus to help a brother out every day.
Don't take that dirty money though. So my point being is though that when you see these people who say certain controversial things and never get in trouble for it, because that's what we always wonder, especially when we think about like, how has this person not gotten banned yet? And even we often talk about on this podcast about like what we can and can't say on social media now. I have no idea. I know that we point at some of the big podcasters who say, if I could say all the things that they say, then we wouldn't need to have a JT's mixtape uncensored on Patreon. Because we would just say, because we don't say anything that horrible or anything like that, because they can say way worse than we'd ever say on all the biggest platforms, which you think would be the more restrictive, because it's like, if my podcast might get out to, based on all the things we talk about, it might get out to 20, 30,000 people, like on a good podcast. And you're talking about people who have millions, millions and millions and millions of listeners, and they're saying the things that would get us banned. So why would you ban a smaller account like us and then allow somebody else to do it? Maybe because they're paid to say that. And other people are paid to protect them because they are the ones trying to stir the pot. They're the ones who are trying to get like I said, this is really what controlled opposition is. So we all often wonder about like who is who. And I don't necessarily mean that you go blame everybody now, but or point fingers at people, but it's definitely a situation where we need to be as wise as serpents and innocent as doves, because there's no doubt that they're paying somebody. And again, they would pay somebody who is against them because that's the playbook.
Yeah, well, it's becoming clearer and clearer, I think. I mean, did you see the excerpts of the podcast that Joe Rogan did with Theo Von?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the one where Theo Von, again, he could be definitely on the payroll too, but he seems like a person who was not political, but he's paying attention to things. Probably since he started doing this podcast, because that's just sort of, that goes part and parcel of making content. It's like you need to be informed about what's happening in the world. So then he seems like his take seems very genuine about being distressed about the stuff that's happening with our government in the Middle East. And Joe Rogan does not want to hear it.
Yeah, I think it's listen, I think I question anybody that gets to that level of fame, anyone that gets to that level of notoriety. But I think one very common thing that happens, and we've talked about this before, I think people start taking money. They start getting into bed with people that they don't realize maybe they should have thought twice about, because they wanted a taste of that fame. They wanted a taste of that money for so long that they're willing to compromise to get into that position, or they don't even realize that they're compromising to get into that position. And then they start to see things. They start to see the smoke around them, and they start to go, wait a second, like there's more to this whole situation. I have a feeling that that's kind of where Theo's at least that's what it seems. Or they're perfectly acting out, chaos and order between the two of them. I don't know. But it seems like he's genuinely starting to realize that he's got some responsibility with the fame that he's got, and the mouthpiece that he's got. I said mouthpiece. It seems like he's realizing he's got some responsibility with the mouth. Oh my gosh. He's got some responsibility with the position he's in.
Okay,
Let me
there
just
you
put
go.
it that way. But dude, for Joe Rogan to straight up tell him that he needs to take his meds.
Yeah.
Or he needs to, what do you say? He needs to take
I think earlier in the podcast they were talking about antidepressants, and he was saying that you need to lay off those antidepressants.
such a low blow, dude, just because he's saying things. Oh, dude.
Yeah, what Theo Von was saying was not insane in the
Not at
slightest. He
all.
was saying things that a lot of people are feeling, and that's the thing. I agree that you got to be skeptical of people who get as famous as Theo Von. Truth is, Theo Von was on like Road Rules back in the day, so he's been doing
He's been around for a minute.
He's been working for a long time. So some people do just see like, oh, well, how did Theo Von become this big podcaster? It's like, well, because he was already like somewhat famous for a little while. You think about like how quickly certain people can go from anonymity today, if they're good, doing something online. You're talking about a guy who's been comfortable in front of the camera as a comedian, and then he's friends with, being a comedian, being friends with big comedians like Joe Rogan. He creates his own podcast, and now he's super famous. I mean, that's really all. I mean, again, I'm not saying that he hasn't had help, because I know he has, but you could be sort of organic and that happen, I guess, maybe.
Well, what happens is these people, they work hard at what they do. Like, I've known people in the past that did comedy, and I've known musicians in the past. They've toured with these other big names. So like all of these big names know who these people are because they're hardworking in their industry, and they've like been in this place where they're like almost famous for years and years and years. And I think what happens is they either get passed up because they know the people that are watching out for them, they know that they're not going to be a good fit, or they get offered shady deals, or they just get offered straight up bad deals and they don't take them. But I think what happens a lot is as these artists get older, as the comedians get older, as these musicians get older, they start to get older and older, and they go, dude, I don't have that many years left to do this. The world's getting crazier. Prices are going up on everything. And then finally like their day comes. And what they're willing to do, the longer they try to make it, they're willing to do a lot more for that money the longer they go without taking any of those deals. But but he's worked hard to get where he's at. So I think it's a combination of both. But regardless, that dispute between the two of them, you're starting to see a lot more people's true colors come out when they say something that is like so obviously contrary to what's really taking place.
Yeah. He was Joe Rogan looked like he was trying to gaslight Theo Von, but what he's really doing is gaslighting his audience. What you just heard was crazy.
Yes, he's trying to make his handlers happy. He might have even been trying to protect Theo because
Possibly.
he realized Theo was going out of bounds, and there's only so many ways he can do that.
They said, "Hey, Theo, you better be careful. They might stage a fake assassination on you."
Yeah. I mean, it's,
or maybe a real
dangerous.
one. Okay, I got one more video. I think this relates because Brian was talking about the idea of was like hypnosis or maybe telepathy. Were you talking about that earlier?
Both. He was talking about both.
Okay, check this out.
Something that has never really made sense to me is that it is impossible for us to read in our dreams. And there is a famous episode of The Batman where he realizes he's trapped in a dream because he can't read anything.
That's because reading is a function of the right side of the brain, while dreams come from the left side. It's impossible to read something in a dream.
And while his explanation is pretty close, that's not the strangest part. When we sleep, basically the entire language area of our brain is turned off. Reading, writing, and even speaking is nearly impossible while dreaming. When most people hear that, they will swear they've had a conversation in their dream before, but when pushed to think about it, realize that it mostly felt like telepathy. Now, there is a very small class of people whose language center does not turn off, and they overwhelmingly tend to be writers.
I've definitely had conversations in dreams before, but it is true about writing and reading. Like I've had so many dreams where like I tried to like type on my cell phone and I just couldn't. Tried to look at my cell phone, tried to open my cell phone, tried to use my cell phone. None of it works.
Well, it's kind of like the same meme of like when you're in your dream and somebody's chasing you and you feel like you're stuck in quicksand. Like you can't run away in your dream either. But
Have you guys ever tried to look at your hands in your dreams?
What's that?
Have you guys ever tried to look at your hands in your dreams?
I've heard people say that you have no hands. Yeah, when you look down at them.
Some weird things happen when you try to look at your hands and feet in your dreams. If you can be aware enough when you dream, try it out sometime. Tell us the results. I'd be curious to know what happens.
What are your thoughts, Brian? Is it demons?
There's too much to say about that topic. For me, honestly, that goes into the realm. It's very fascinating that you don't
just synopsis.
Think about this. Like, why does the language part shut down in your dream state? And I think oftentimes about like the Tower of Babel when God divided the world with language. And I wonder if prior to the Tower of Babel, if we spoke almost telepathically. And I think that's how they communicated with animals even. And so I think in the dream state, you're kind of reverting back to that sort of base sort of spiritual environment, because like the dream state, I get dreams all the time, dude, that mean stuff. And I have dreams that I'll be told something and then I'll wake up and I just had a dream not even like 3 days ago where like I knew something was going to happen. It like laid out exactly. So like I have dreams all the time that like, it's the Lord says it speaks to us in dreams and in visions. So I don't know. I just kind of the dream world is a place that it's so there's
it's another
so much
place
to
that
it.
kind of seems like we were talking about last time about, is it more fourth dimensional because time is not really, it's kind of very abstract in your dream?
Yeah. I mean,
It feels more real than this life to me sometimes.
Sometimes it feels super
honestly.
real. I remember the other day I had a dream, and I thought I was remembering that I had a conversation with my neighbor, and he was telling me all the weirdest conspiracies. This older guy I live next to, who would not be the kind of person to talk about that, but he was saying like the weirdest stuff. And I guess when I think back about the dream, I don't remember saying anything back to him. It was more like he was telling me something, but like I don't remember ever actually saying anything. I was almost like in my dream remembering like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's saying all this stuff. But I wasn't actually, I was kind of like trying to think about what I would say to him.
You were just doing curls, staring at him while he talked to you.
Yeah, I was just like, what are you talking? Like, no, I don't remember saying anything, but and I do know a lot of people do have that dream where they just see somebody and they won't speak. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's the thing. Like I tried to look into dreams to see what they could mean, but we have so many bizarre dreams that part of it's got to be just your brain just kind of goofing on you sometimes.
It's definitely both. I've had it be a conglomeration of weird things that I either like watched or thought about or had conversations about, and then like in the dream, like it's a swirl of all of those. But I've had dreams, like Brian said, I've had dreams that panned out where like in the following days or like a week later, I was in a scenario where that literal exact situation happened, like line for line.
So what I'll tell you is what I've learned in the dream stuff, and the Lord's showing me still things all the time. But one of the things that I've learned is that when you consume content, it will pervert whatever message is coming through in your dream. So like the Lord might be showing you a dream, and there's a meaning to it. Like there's a meaning to this dream that I had just recently. There was a boat, and the boat got smaller and smaller, and it's like you can look at this situation. And that smaller boat meant it had a meaning significant to something else going on in my life. Now, if I had watched something like, Denzel Washington fighting and shooting people, maybe there would have been Denzel Washington in my dream taking me onto the boat. And it's like the things that we consume pervert the message. It doesn't remove the overarching message, though, because if you step backwards and look at your dream and write it down and then look at it from a distance, like top down, and like kind of step back, the meaning of whatever the Lord is trying to push onto you or emphasize to you a lot of times is there. And there's dreams that will clarify your present. There's dreams that will allude something to the future, or there's dreams that will clarify something from the past. And so you can have dreams that fall into any of those categories, and the dreams will give you understanding of the past, clarify the present, or tell something of the future. And so it's really fascinating, the dream space that the Lord kind of carries you through when you start paying attention to it. And I'm of the volition that, or the perspective that I would say that almost every dream in a sense is kind of God, or there's some element of God involved in it, because even the nightmares, they reveal something to you, because you could have a terrible dream and it's revealing that there's something that you need to fix in your life, or there's something here that you need to change or whatever. That's just
I agree with that.
Yeah, but what about the demons though? The demons are trying to twist the whole idea, what is it? The
Demons
Greek
give
god of
dreams for
dreams
sure.
was Morpheus, and he could tell
Yeah.
you lies in your dreams.
Yep. That totally happens all the time.
Well, and we open doors with our decisions all the time. Like there's.
I'm just
so many things
cautioning
you
it's
can do.
dangerous to say that every dream is from God when we know that demons will insert lies into your dreams.
Well,
Yeah,
no, I said every dream has some aspect of God there. And yes, demons can interfere in the dreams. Absolutely. And then the Lord also sent a lying spirit, right? So that God can even allow demons to proceed into your dreams. So you got to understand that like there's an element of, there's some revelation you can get from your dream, whether it's from a demon or from God, or regardless. There's some revelation.
Right.
And if you listen to the Lord, he'll tell you what it is.
Because they can still only do whatever he allows them to do, right? He's still sovereign. So I've had demonic dreams that absolutely gave me clarity on situations in my life.
There you go.
And so that's why you got to test the spirits. That's why you got to pray about everything. Sometimes you've got to fast over these things. There's sometimes I have dreams that just stick in my gut, and they stick in my mind so much. They might not even be disturbing. There's just something about it that sticks in my mind, and I'll pray about it, and I'll have to work through it all. And, oftentimes like I'll talk to Sarah about them and we'll have conversations about them. And then she helps me see things that I don't that I didn't see at all, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's accurate. That's really true. So, yeah, they can be very powerful. I mean, it does say right in the end, old men will dream dreams.
Young men will see
We're kind
visions.
of getting up there with our years. So,
I wonder if like people didn't used to have dreams at all, like, and it was like a rare thing to have a dream, and now we have them all the time, and it's like we're taking to granted that the fact that the Lord is there in our midst in some way. I've kind of contemplated this thought.
yeah, I think I encourage people to pray for him to speak to them through their dreams.
I do
'Cause
every night.
Like almost every single time I ask him specifically to show me something in my dreams, he does.
Yep, I do it. Yep.
Single time.
I ask him every night when I go to sleep. I say, Lord, speak to me in my dreams.
Yeah, sometimes I don't because I can't. There's some nights I just can't handle it. I'm just like, not tonight. If I dream, great. But there's some nights I'm like, please give me some, give me some visions, speak to me, show me what you want me to see. So, anywho.
Well, anyways, guys, that's great. On that
That's
note,
it,
we're going to
guys.
close it down for the day. I appreciate you guys all watching. If you guys want to watch these episodes early and uncensored, please consider supporting this podcast over on Patreon. Or if you'd like to support this podcast and your health, please check out the sponsor of this podcast, Modern Roots Life. Also, check out the merch store if you'd like. We've got hats and shirts. Brian wearing a beautiful Jesus Said There'd Be Haters shirt. And also, as we premiered one of our coaching clients, Tinfoil to Truth, amazing content. So if you want to make content like that, and you can't imagine how you could start or you could come up with something like that, please consider checking us out over on the Echoes of Truth Network. Regardless if you can't support this podcast by any other way than just watching, we appreciate you. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
JT's mixtape, now a show about history, faith, and truth, with the sound and the conversation we've never heard before. JT's mixtape, now there's a podcast that has exactly what we've been looking for all of us who will not compromise. Listen, JT created mixtape for us.